Have you ever said something important, only to realize no one was actually listening? In a time where noise often disguises itself as meaning, it's easy to fall into the habit of speaking just to be heard. We raise our voices thinking that louder means more important, that more words mean more value. But the truth is, the most powerful speakers are rarely the loudest in the room. They're the ones whose words come from a place of clear intention. Speaking with purpose means resisting the temptation to fill every silence with sound. It means taking a moment to reflect before speaking, understanding not just what you're saying, but why you're saying it. Is your goal to connect, to inspire, to clarify? When you begin with purpose, your words carry a quiet authority that draws people in rather than pushing them away. Purposeful speech isn't about impressing others, it's about expressing something real. Too many conversations today are built on performance, rehearsed lines, empty affirmations, and carefully curated personas. But people don't connect with performances, they connect with sincerity. When you speak with intention, your words find a natural rhythm, deliberate yet human. They hold weight, not because you force them to, but because they come from a place of thoughtfulness and conviction. In those moments, people listen not out of obligation, but out of genuine interest. You're not just delivering sound, you're offering something of yourself. And speaking with purpose also means honoring the value of your voice. It's recognizing that what you say has the power to shape moments, conversations, even relationships. It doesn't mean you have to be serious all the time. Humor, joy, vulnerability, and passion all have their place. But even these should arise from a core intention. When you respect your own voice, you naturally begin to speak in ways that earn the respect of others. You're not grasping for validation. You're contributing meaningfully. You understand that purpose isn't always profound. Sometimes it's as simple as being honest or kind or clear, but it's always present. And in a world saturated with noise, that kind of clarity is magnetic. Let me know if you'd like me to expand the other keynotes in the same tone and depth. We often think of communication as a stream of words, constant, flowing, uninterrupted. But some of the most powerful moments in speech are the ones where nothing is said at all. Silence, though often feared or misunderstood, is not a void to be avoided. It's a presence. It holds space. It allows words to settle. It makes the difference between speaking at someone and truly reaching them. When we rush to fill every pause, we rob our message of its chance to land. We give the listener no time to reflect, to feel, to respond. Silence gives your audience a breath, and in that breath, your words take root. The space between your sentences matters just as much as the sentences themselves. There's an emotional intelligence to silence. It shows that you're not just speaking to be heard, but that you're also listening, not just to others, but to the moment, to the atmosphere, to the energy in the room. A brief pause after a powerful statement lets the weight of your message linger. A moment of quiet before a response shows that you are considering, not reacting. Silence reflects composure. It signals that you're not desperate for attention, not hurried by nerves, but grounded in your own rhythm. And in that groundedness, people sense something different, something they want to listen to. They recognize that you're not trying to overpower the room, you're inviting them in. Silence also allows emotion to speak where words might fall short. In a vulnerable conversation, a pause can hold more compassion than a stream of consoling phrases. In storytelling, a beat of silence can heighten suspense, create impact, or evoke empathy. In difficult dialogue, silence creates space for truth to surface, sometimes uncomfortably, but necessarily. It's not the absence of expression, it's a form of it. Used well, silence creates contrast, dimension, and depth in your communication. It teaches us that stillness isn't weak, it's intentional, and that in choosing not to speak for a moment, we may actually be saying the most. There is a certain magnetism in someone who is fully, undeniably present, not just physically in the room, but mentally and emotionally grounded in the moment. You can feel it, in their eyes, in their tone, in the way they respond without rushing or reaching, Presence is the quiet force behind every meaningful conversation. It's not about dominating attention or dazzling with charm. It's about showing up with your whole self, unguarded, sincere, and attentive. People know when you're speaking from a script, just as they know when you're distracted or performing. But when you're truly present, your words carry a different weight. They are not just spoken, they are lived, felt, and embodied. And people listen, not out of obligation, but because they feel seen and spoken to, not past or around. Authentic presence is about removing the mask. It's about releasing the need to impress, and instead allowing yourself to connect. That requires courage, the courage to be real, even when your voice is uncertain, even when your ideas are still forming. It's trusting that who you are, as you are, is enough. When you drop the effort to be impressive, you become relatable. When you stop rehearsing your emotions and start expressing them honestly, you create a bridge between your experience and someone else's. That's when dialogue becomes powerful, when it's no longer a transaction of words, but an exchange of energy and understanding. You don't need to deliver perfect lines. You need to be in the lines you deliver. Being authentically present also means listening, deeply, not just waiting for your turn to speak. It's holding space for others, responding not with rehearsed nods or practiced smiles, but with genuine attention. It's allowing yourself to be influenced by the moment, to respond not automatically, but mindfully. This level of awareness requires you to let go of distractions, not just phones and noise, but the internal clutter, the doubts, the preoccupations, the rehearsed outcomes. Presence is not passive, it's intentional. It's a commitment to being right here, right now, fully engaged. And when you bring that kind of presence into your voice, people don't just hear your words, they experience you. Your voice is more than just a means of transmitting words. It is your instrument, capable of carrying nuance, emotion, and truth in ways far beyond the literal. And yet, so many of us move through conversations using our voices in only one or two notes, unaware of the incredible range we hold. Just like a violin or a piano, your voice can rise, fall, soften, tremble, or strike with clarity. It can soothe or ignite, console or command. But it can only do so when you learn to listen to it, not just how it sounds, but how it feels. The rhythm, the pitch, the tone, they are not just technical choices. They are emotional cues. They tell people not only what you're saying, but how deeply you mean it. When you use your voice with intention, you begin to create moments that stick. A whisper can be more powerful than a shout when it's grounded in sincerity. A pause mid-sentence, filled with a slight breath or hesitation, can convey more vulnerability than an entire speech. A shift in tempo, slowing down when something matters, speeding up when excitement takes over, invites the listener to feel with you, not just follow you. These subtle movements make your voice dynamic and alive. They help your message resonate not just in the mind, but in the body. People may not remember every word, but they will remember how your voice made them feel. Learning to use your voice like an instrument also means allowing it to carry your full emotional landscape. Let it break if you're heartbroken. Let it rise when you're passionate. Let it calm when comfort is needed. Let it laugh when joy breaks through. There is no strength in monotony, and there is no real communication in forced perfection. When your voice reflects your inner world honestly, it invites trust. People lean into a voice that feels human, textured, layered. They tune out voices that feel manufactured or hollow. You don't have to be theatrical to be expressive. You just have to be in tune with yourself, and unafraid to let that resonance shape the sound you give to the world. So often we're taught to speak in ways that gain approval, to sound smart, to sound powerful, to sound like we belong. We carefully choose our words, not to reach someone, but to prove something. And yet, when we speak only to impress, we end up creating distance. We perform rather than connect. True influence, the kind that lingers in someone's mind long after the words have passed, doesn't come from showcasing how much you know or how articulate you can be. It comes from making others feel seen, supported, and significant. When you speak to uplift instead of to impress, your words begin to serve something greater than your own image. They begin to create space for others to rise. Speaking to uplift is about shifting the center of your intention from you to us. It's asking not, how can I sound important, but how can I make this moment meaningful for both of us? It's about offering your voice in a way that invites people to stand taller, think deeper, or feel braver. That doesn't mean you shrink yourself. On the contrary, it requires you to stand in your full power, but to use that power with generosity. It's not about performing confidence to impress someone. It's about embodying humility that reminds others of their own strength. You stop using language as a pedestal and start using it as a bridge, one that closes gaps, one that reminds others of what they're capable of, what they're worthy of, and what they belong to. There's something quietly radical about choosing to uplift in a world obsessed with appearance. When you speak with genuine warmth, with real encouragement, and without expectation of praise, people don't just listen to you, they feel something shift. Compliments that are specific, appreciation that is sincere, stories that reveal vulnerability rather than invincibility. These are the things that reach people. These are the moments where someone stops seeing you as a speaker and starts experiencing you as a human being. You may not always be the loudest or the most technically impressive voice in the room, but when you speak in a way that affirms the worth of others, your words carry a kind of resonance that polish alone can never achieve. There is a quiet, often invisible barrier that stands between what we feel and what we say. Fear of judgment, fear of getting it wrong, fear of not being enough. And yet, all-powerful speech begins with the willingness to speak through that fear. Courage is not the absence of vulnerability. It's the decision to be seen anyway. It's what turns a voice from simply audible to deeply impactful. You can have perfect articulation, flawless pacing, and well-rehearsed lines, but if there is no courage behind your words, people will feel the emptiness. Because courage doesn't just sharpen what you say, it infuses it with meaning. It shows up in the tremble of a voice that still chooses to speak. It's there in the moment someone shares a truth they've never said out loud. It's in the pause before confession, the breath before challenge, the stillness before revelation. Courage is the force that invites honesty to the surface. It allows you to say the difficult thing, not out of anger or pride, but because silence would cost too much. It allows you to ask questions you don't already have the answers to admit when you're unsure, and to stand your ground when every part of you wants to retreat. When you speak with courage, you stop editing yourself to fit other people's expectations. You speak from a place of conviction rather than convenience. You understand that being liked is not the same as being real, and that being heard is not always about being agreed with. Courage asks you to risk discomfort for the sake of truth. It asks you to trust that your voice matters even before the world confirms it. And courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it shows up quietly, in the decision to keep going when it would be easier to stay silent. Sometimes it's in the softness of a boundary, the vulnerability of saying, I don't know, the steadiness of telling someone, this hurt. Sometimes it's in the refusal to follow the script, the choice to speak in your own rhythm, your own language, your own story. Speaking with courage means letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing the need to be honest. It means showing up not as a version of yourself that feels safe, but as the version that feels true. Because people don't connect with perfection. They connect with truth, and truth always takes courage. You don't need to shout to be heard. You need to speak with clarity, presence, and purpose. You need to value your own voice before expecting others to. So the next time you speak, whether in a boardroom, a classroom, or across a table, remember, speaking so that people want to listen isn't about commanding attention. It's about inviting connection. Because when your words are anchored in truth and wrapped in authenticity, people don't just hear you, they feel you, and they listen.